Hi everybody, I'm Tim Bulot and welcome to WeaponsAcademy.com. We've got it here for you today, as promised, the first edition of Training to Survive from 1996, the show that laid out the next 3 years, an overview, a look at what's to come, 99.9% edit free. We had to make a couple little edits in it just because of damage to the tape, but it's got the original soundtrack, so sit back, let's go back to 1996, check you guys out. Training to Survive, Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. on Channel 15. In these times of rising crime, drugs, alcohol, and gangs, 3 out of 5 Americans will become a victim of violence at one point in their lifetime. Violence strikes when you least expect it. No one can afford to be unprepared in this day and age. One must train to defend themselves in a variety of situations such as indoors, outdoors, on your feet, and on the ground against multiple opponents, aggressive opponents, and armed attackers. This program will show you how. Hello, I'm Tim Bulot, the owner and the head instructor of the Academy of Kenpo Karate located right here in Irving. Have we got a treat for you today? Welcome to our first edition of Training to Survive, a continuing series on self-defense, fitness, and martial arts for today's times. We're going to be coming at you with exciting crime prevention tips and life-saving information for people of today. So get prepared for it. It promises to be a great and exciting show, and let's get started. Throughout our series, we plan to bring you a variety of different instructors from a variety of different styles. Let's take a look now at some of these instructors in action to give you an idea of what's coming up.
Say, man, you think you can help me out? I can't seem to get my car started. You got some jam?
Hello, my name is Steve Cottrell. I received my instructorship in Wing Chun in 1983 from Master Ricardo Guerra, who received his instructorship from Grandmaster Lung Ting, who received his instructorship from the great Grandmaster Yip Man. Wing Chun is a Chinese art of self-defense that specializes in close-range combat. In an unavoidable confrontation, the Wing Chun practitioner will seek to take over the space directly between himself and an opponent and to dominate that space, delivering straight-line strikes, finishing the opponent as quickly as possible. Wing Chun is, in its purest sense, a battle for the center line.
We'll now work the hapu no kiri, or cutting in 8 directions. Stationary. Ski. Yokomen. Shomen. Shomenuch. Hiza. Now actively in the 8 directions.
Yosuke. All right.
Give Darren a blast to punch at me this time. Go ahead. And then the other thing is that we control our partner and maintain control through the throw. Let's try again. Another method might be like this.
Because of the rising crime statistics against women, we're finding that more and more females are getting involved in the martial arts. Here at the Academy of Kenpo Karate, we've got some tough ones. We've put together a women's demonstration team for the upcoming seminar, so let's take a look at these women in action, give you an idea of what's coming up.
Hello, I'm Officer Rick Cutler with Irving Police Department. Each week during this show, I'm going to be providing you with a crime prevention tip that's going to help keep you and your family safer in everyday life. First thing we're going to focus on this week is going to be safety when traveling. Always carry a minimum amount of cash when you're traveling. Carry traveler's checks or a credit card in case of emergency, but make sure we keep those in separate places in case they get stolen. Let's travel on main roads and let's use current maps so we do not get lost. At any time while you're traveling, do not pick up a hitchhiker and avoid traveling during the hours of darkness. At any time while you're traveling, if your vehicle breaks down, let's raise the hood, turn on the flashers, keep the family together, and let's try to find the nearest payphone to call your local law enforcement agency. That's our crime prevention tip of the week. Hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yes. Hi, I'm Tim Bulot. Welcome to On the Mat. Welcome to our first segment of On the Mat. Now this is going to be a continuing educational segment of the program where we're going to give you actual self-defense and street defense lessons. Now before we get started today, let me give you just a little bit of background about myself so you'll know where we're coming at you from. As of the shooting of this program, I've been a law enforcement officer in this area for the past 14 years. Okay, so basically what that says is that I've got a lot of experience out on the street. During that tenure as a police officer, I've worked in patrol division, I've worked in felony investigations, and I've spent a lot of time and received a lot of certifications in different aspects of training as well. Now as a martial artist, I've been involved in the martial arts in one form or another since I was a teenager. So what we're going to be coming at you with on this program is going to be a conglomeration of my years of experience as a police officer with a lot of the martial arts background, primarily Kenpo, which is what we teach here at the Academy of Kenpo Karate, intertwined together to give you a good, realistic knowledge of the streets. Now, with Kenpo, we break our Kenpo down the way we teach it, basically, for the purposes of this program, into three different categories. Okay, we have forms, we have freestyle, and we have self-defense that we teach in the art of Kenpo. Now, today, what we're going to do is give you an overview of forms, and we're going to continue with this overview series until we get a basic overall look at Kenpo, and then we're going to get more specialized into our lessons. Now, what are forms? Okay, they're also known as katas and a lot of other martial arts systems. And if any of you have been out around some of the martial arts schools and so forth, you see the students going out and they're doing these patterns, these dance-like patterns across the floor. Not necessarily with an opponent. They may be doing it in unison with other students in the class, or they may be working these patterns by themselves. These are forms, or katas as some schools call them. And what a form is a prearranged sequence of motion, okay, that directly corresponds to the student's ability level at his particular place in the system to bring in concepts, theories, and principles into a form in which they can be practiced and so forth, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to show you a beginner form and then an intermediate form on this segment of the show, and then we're going to take some of the moves, some of the principles out of the form, and we're going to show you how they apply directly to your self-defense training to help you get a better understanding about what forms and katas are all about, as well as the usefulness of forms and katas in the martial arts. Okay, so let's go now. Let's go to a beginner form. Let's watch and learn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Close. Now that was a visual example of a group of students in my school working a beginner form, okay? Now the forms at that level are not very sophisticated, but like I said, they directly relate to the self-defense moves that the students are learning at that particular level. if you practice self-defense, you practice techniques and you practice against attackers, okay, and then you get out there in a real life situation, if you actually are attacked or jumped out on the street, you're not really going to have time to sit back and think about what kind of form you're using. Oh, am I using good form in this self-defense situation, or is my form sloppy, okay? Because you're going to be busy taking care of business, hopefully, okay? Now, hopefully none of us ever have to do this, but if we do, this is where this training comes in. So when you take a form like the motion you just saw, okay, and what you saw a lot of here was the student stepping back into a defensive posture and blocking simultaneously. That's the way we begin training beginners in the school, in the art of Kenpo. We teach them to retreat from the attack and get a shield out, which is this blocking arm, as soon as possible. Now in this case, I'm stepping back into a right side forward stance, which we call to a neutral bow stance in Kenpo, and I'm using a right inward block, which is the first move of the form that you just saw. Okay, now while the students work this move again and again repeatedly, okay, they're learning to solidify their base. They're learning the correct angle of the block. They're working on a good solid stance, learning to settle, and a lot of other important principles that give you speed, power, and continuity while you're working your self-defense techniques. So if you practice the forms repeatedly again and again and again, you basically are working a model of motion that will refine and help improve your self-defense and your fighting skills. And that's what this is all about. It's not a lot of moves out there that are just for fun. There's a definite purpose to this. As you get more advanced in form and kata practice, you're going to find that there's a good cardiovascular side effect from it also. It's a great way to help get into shape, and it's also a good way to wind up and wind down before and after a workout. Okay, so what we're going to do for the purposes of this is we're going to take some of these moves from the form or the kata that you just saw my students demonstrating, and we're going to show some applications for them. And at this level, this is a beginner level, and these are some of the things that students will learn when they first come in and begin training in the martial arts. Like I said, at the beginning of the form, the students, okay, they were in a formal posture here. They stepped back and they stepped into a good, we call this a neutral bow stance, like I said, with a good solid inward block or an inward strike. Okay, now let's see how this can be useful. Sean's going to come on in. Now, I'm in my starting posture here at the beginning of the form, and let's say Sean, he steps in with a right, just a right hooking punch. I step back and I use this inward strike, okay, to block to the inside of the arm. Okay, let's look at that again and go. Okay, now a good solid stance, the correct angle of this block are all important factors here. Have any of these been somewhat out of tune, if I can use that term, the punch perhaps could have gotten in or overpowered me. Now this same move, Sean, give me a grab here. Against a lapel grab, okay, if I step back, I can take and I can block this arm right off of my uniform. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm using this inward block to strike to the median nerve on the inside of the arm. Okay, now let's look at a left hooking punch, okay, and you saw the student stepping back and using what we call an outward block in the second part of the form. Okay, so from here, if he throws that left punch, I step back and I use this block to shield against that. If I have a left grab, go ahead, I can step back and I can use this block to help peel that hand off. Okay, now another application that we might look at is as I step back, you notice my left hand is chambering, okay, coming into a chambered position here. Okay, and you may be thinking, well, this hand's not really doing anything, but is it doing something? Yes, it is. Okay, now let's take, if you give me, say, a left cross like a boxer throws, okay, come on in. As I step back, I can use this to pick up the arm, and as I settle, my chambering action can help snap that elbow, okay, and once again, it ends up in this position, slow and easy, but as he comes in, I pick it up, hook it, boom, and I snap that arm using this chambering action to assist in that. Okay, now once again, Butch, come on in and be a rear attacker for us. Okay, say Butch has got me in a strangling or a choking situation, okay? Now, and Sean comes in, say with your right punch from the front, as I drop back, I can clear off here. My block, or my elbow, can actually act as a strike to the attacker behind me while this takes care of the punch in front. Let's look at this again. I get choked from the back and punch, go ahead. And I strike both of my attackers simultaneously. Thanks, gentlemen. And in Kenpo, we refer to this as a double factor, okay? Two things happening at once. So just the first move of the kata, step back, good neutral stance, a good inward block, you can see there's a lot of self-defense value in that. On the next move of the kata we stepped back with a good outward block, and we used it primarily on the left hand instead of the right. So if you work at that and you practice it in the form, you're going to find that when you get out there on the street or you get into a self-defense situation, the things that you consciously think about when you're working your form will subconsciously occur during a life and death struggle. Okay, now let's take a look at an intermediate form. Now looking at that form, you should be able to see quite a bit of difference from the intermediate form to the beginner form. There's a lot more sophisticated footwork involved. The hands, man, did you see those hands? They never stop moving, okay? So we're working a lot of different action in this, okay? Now like I told you in the first form we learned about stepping back, using distance, and using a good defense here. Okay, now on the intermediate form, you saw the opening move of the form from this formal posture, okay? Jan stepped in and he did 2 punches, okay? Then stepped off, did a fanning type motion here. Poke, and then another punch, okay? What could this possibly be? Okay, let's take a look at it. If Butch comes in and he's applying a front choke, he's actually going to be pulling forward in this situation. So therefore, stepping in is the smart thing to do. We're taking the angle of least resistance, and instead of trying to fight Butch, I'm going with him and I'm punching low and I'm punching high simultaneously into the stomach and into the face. Now this fanning action we saw, and I might add this is to help elongate his arms to release the grab, or the choke rather. So that fanning action, as Jan stepped off, he did an inward block, an outward block, he poked into the eye. Butch's reaction to this was to bring the hand up. Now remember, I showed you the chambering move and how it could have meaning. So I grab the wrist and I shoot a punch as I pull. Let's look at that again, Butch. So he chokes and he pulls me in. Go ahead and I punch. I step off. Inward, outward, poke to the eye, and then I grab the wrist and shoot a punch to the ribs. Okay, thanks, Butch. Now without an attacker, it looks like this. Grab and punch. Okay, that was the first move of that form. And you can see the value and the interpretation of that is directly relating to street defense here at the intermediate level. Now let's look at another example that Jan showed us when he executed the form, which was a move like this. Okay, you see the hand, circular, a lot of ripping and tearing action, okay? What could this possibly be? Butch, come on in, and I'm going to put you on this side for this demonstration. I say Butch grabs with his right, and it's a cross-hand wrist grab, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to loop this around. I step in. As I break the arm, I'm going to pin him down, come through. I elbow, heel palm and rip, drop the elbow, back knuckle and rake, and drop an elbow to the spine, okay? Straight out of the form, no difference whatsoever here. Let's look at this again. Okay, he grabs, I take him down, hit, rip, drop the elbow, okay? Thanks, Butch. Let's look at it again without an attacker. Okay, a re-grab, break, take him down, rip, and drop the elbow. Devastating. Directly out of the form, directly relates to street defense, okay? Let's look at another example. You saw Jan doing a motion like so in the form, okay? Hook, 2 middle knuckle punches, 2 back knuckles, 2 pokes to the eyes. What could this be? Well, let's find out, okay? Butch is going to give me a push, all right? As I hook, I punch right into the body with this. I'm going to circle around, shoot 2 back knuckles up to the face, clear the hands, and then come back with 2 pokes straight into the eyes. Thanks, Butch. Okay, once again, it looked like this. Okay, now you should be able to see at this intermediate form the direct relationship between these prearranged sequences of motion, okay, and what you actually do out on the street. At the advanced level, it gets better. Trust me on that, okay? That's all the time we have for this week. This is going to conclude this segment of On the Mat. Next week, we're planning to teach you about freestyle. Freestyle is Kenpo's offense. Why would we use an offense? Tune in next week and we'll show you. Okay, sorry, we're all out of time. This concludes our first Training to Survive. I hope you've enjoyed it because we've certainly enjoyed bringing you this information, and I hope that this information finds a place in your everyday life to help make you safe, help give you some new ideas on how to get into shape. If you have any questions about self-defense or about physical fitness in general, or if you'd like to have your question answered on our show, please write to us, the Academy of Kenpo Karate, 3325 West Rochelle Road, Irving, Texas 75062, or give us a call at Metro 972-256-3969. Look for our show to air regularly on Monday nights at 7:30 on Channel 15.
What's up, people? What's up? What's up, people? What's up? What's up? What's up, ma'am? What's up? Boom! What's up? What's up, ma'am? What's up? Boom!
So what a step back in time, huh? It's absolutely amazing that that show went on to run for another 3 years. And like I said before, we filmed over 50 episodes, and I've recovered a lot of those. Some of them, those tapes are old, and there's just not salvaging every one of them, but we're gonna have a lot of them coming at you. We may have to splice them together too to make a complete show. So anyway, guys, be sure to like, share, subscribe to the channel if you want to keep this coming, and give me some feedback on it, okay? What do you want to see? Are we going the right path with these vintage videos also for my martial arts students? We're not getting away from the tactical training by any means, but you know, how can we ignore these iconic videos from the past? So anyway, I've enjoyed it. Episode 1, Training to Survive, taking y'all back to 1996. Thank you for coming along with me. We'll see you on the next one.